With all of these platforms that are emerging right now, being led by AI and being able to harvest all the data and make decisions literally instantaneously on what you're looking at, and the automation of just everything out there. The one takeaway I get from this is that, once again, what you value in this industry is you should be valuing strategy over tasks. This is just another automated tool that's going to put something out there and they're going to take care of all the tasks, but you still have to have strategy in place.
The following marketing information and discussion is provided for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as professional guidance or consultancy. Just enjoy the show.
Hello everyone, welcome to The Buyer's Journey by Chemexus, a discussion-based podcast focused on gaining your business a competitive advantage by eliminating marketing confusion and making your digital marketing work for you. I'm Matthew McGroarty, the social media content producer here at Chemexus.
I'm Len Ward, the managing partner at Chemexus.
I'm Josh Lyons, the digital marketing coordinator here at Chemexus.
So on today's episode of The Buyer's Journey, we wanted to talk about marketing automation. And we're going to be talking about that in two kind of distinct ways. But generally speaking, marketing automation is a process of marketing being automated. It's exactly what it is in the name. So the first article that we're talking about today is on Search Engine Journal. It's by Christy Kellogg, and it's focused on BrightEdge, a company that has just unveiled a new technology that will put some features of SEO on autopilot. So this was originally revealed during the keynote address at Share 19 in New York. BrightEdge CEO Jim Yu announced that their new technology, called BrightEdge Autopilot, will reportedly completely automate certain SEO tasks and will be available in early 2020. So specifically, the tasks that they're looking to automate are things that don't necessarily need a human touch. So that includes things like duplicate content issues, broken links, mobile issues, page performance, and infrastructure issues. This reportedly took them 12 years to develop. Here's a quote. Time and time again, we heard the same thing. Digital marketing teams were challenged by limited resources and organizational silos, and their own bandwidth was limited thanks to repetitive, laborious, and soul-crushing repetitive tasks. So during those 12 years, they studied 345 petabytes of data, which is 57 times the size of all photos on Instagram, and crawled 500 billion pages. For reference, that is if every single person in the world had a web page, each of those pages would have been crawled 71 times. So that's a very interesting stat there. And they're currently running BrightEdge Autopilot on more than 1,700 sites. On average, they found that customers using BrightEdge had seen a 60% increase in page views per visit, 21% more keywords on page 1 rankings, 2 times increase in conversions, and 28% improvement in ad quality score. And there are a couple companies that are currently using this. For example, Campbell Soup Company had access to an early version of it, and they saw 4,000 keywords move to page 1, 75,000 images were compressed automatically, 35 pages earned a faster mobile page speed, and there was an overall 5-second load time improvement. So what do we think about this, guys?
I mean, I think that this is basically where the industry is heading. I think that, I've been saying it. I know I say it a lot on the podcast. I say it whenever I'm talking to clients. But I think this is another large step in the process of really devaluing what SEO is. The question is how nice is Google going to play with knowing that this system's running in the background? Now, years ago when you first started SEO, there was actually programs out there that automated things similar to this, but they told you what to go in and fix, which was kind of nice. There's one, I can't think of one off the top of my head, I forget. It was a really good one. You spent I think it was like $500 for the year. And it didn't do it automatically for you, but then again, it told you exactly what to go in and fix, which was the first steps of automation of SEO, which again is probably going back about 10 years. But I think this truly is yet another lever that's being pulled to kind of show you the reduction of SEO. If you do SEO for a living and this is what you do, this is concerning. This is a little concerning to you that a client can basically just set this on autopilot, let it run, because a lot of these things that it fixes are really critical issues in regarding to rankings or that are needed for rankings. So if you're an internal marketing team, I think this is great. If you're an SEO person and you can buy this software and use this software and maybe kind of scale up a little bit, I think it's good. But I think inherently you have to look at yourself and say, wow, are SEO people really is it moving to the point where it is automation? Because it is moving to the point of automation, which is moving into the point that we believe here that, it's pretty much just moving into an entire paid world. And I think the ground is getting smaller and smaller for SEO people and certain types of content people to try to get their stuff out there, quote unquote, on the free. So, I don't know if that really makes a lot of sense, but when I read this and I saw this, I was like, wow, that's really cool they made it. But then the old school SEO in me from 2005 is like, wow, this really sucks because this is eliminating jobs.
So here's my question, I guess. Obviously you have a huge background in SEO. Amy, our SEO project manager, does a ton of work in SEO. Josh, you've done some SEO work in conjunction with Amy and other team members here. Obviously this is in one way hurting some SEO people in the sense of, I'm sure there are going to be DIY sort of business owners that go, oh, this can help me fix XYZ issue. Cool, let me throw it on there. But from an agency perspective, because it seems like that's what this is aimed at. This is aimed at agencies in particular who are doing a lot of SEO work. What do you guys think of it as a tool for a company, an agency like us, to sort of reduce the bandwidth congestion for SEO tasks like this?
Yeah, I think it's going to be very useful. I think if you can get to the point where you don't have to, quite honestly, as an owner of an agency, if I don't have to employ a technical SEO body to be in there, sitting there doing this nonstop, and I can have someone like Amy, who is a technical SEO person, but if I can have Amy project manage 100 websites, and she can overlook everything and realize that this software is running for her, well, then I don't need to hire 4 other SEO people. That's crazy. So do I find it as an agency owner effective? I find it highly effective. As the SEO person, as the old school freelancer, I find this a little disturbing and concerning. But Bright Edge, it's a good product that they're putting out. I think they're a good company. But again, 2 sides. Owner, this is great. I can scale. Freelancer, this sucks. This is taking some stuff from me. Because what's going to happen is you're going to get companies that are going to automatically say, well, I'm just going to run Bright Edge and I'm going to rank and I'm going to do all this great stuff. And they're going to put all their eggs in a basket and not realize that there is an art form to SEO. If you are looking at SEO as part of your campaign, which you should for about certain parts of the buyer's journey. So I think that there are some parts there that really help out. But again, I think it's concerning because, not to kind of go on a tangent, but when I look at stuff and I see ads for, we can automatically set up all your pay-per-click campaign, and there's AI that goes to your website and extracts all the data and says, okay, we can set up pay-per-click campaigns for you. And then there's another piece of software I saw that they were beta testing that actually goes to your websites, reads your content, extracts the content, extracts images, and can create digital ads for you. Okay, well, where's the creative people? So I think everybody who's in this world, in our industry, has to kind of keep an eye that there's a pivot here. It's turning, and a lot of automation's coming, especially to everyday tasks that clients pay for and agencies do. It's concerning. If your whole life is SEO, this is something where, okay, maybe not this one, maybe the Bright Edge is so and it sucks and all that, but there's going to be another one behind it and another one. The minute the first robot shows up, 10,000 show up behind it to try to solve the problem. So to me, so kind of going off on a tangent a little bit, again, I think this is a little concerning.
I mean, I think you have a point. We have other platforms. I'm a videographer, so from my realm, I always think of the video things. And you have YouTube. We're going to talk a little bit later about some other things. But YouTube, for example, having that automatically, if you insert a 60 or 30-second ad, it can automatically generate 15 and 6-second ads based off of the content of the 60 and 30. That is concerning, but I think, and I mean, I don't know how much this strikes true for SEO, but I'm assuming it does. There is a degree of benefit and quality to having a person manually go in and create these things, these 15-second ads, doing the SEO on these pages, etc. But I agree. I mean, I do think it is concerning. It's something that we definitely sort of want to keep an eye on.
It's something you want to keep an eye on, and I think it evolves with all of these platforms that are emerging right now. Being led by AI and being able to harvest all the data and make decisions literally instantaneously on what you're looking at, and the automation of just everything out there. I think it begs the difference where you have to go look at, and I'm probably becoming a downer here, but you go look at like the industry overall, and you go look at everybody who's hiring internal marketing teams. So you have this team of like 20 people internally. You're not going to need that. If you have all of these types of platforms, you're going to need 2 people to run these platforms, so long as you have the right strategy in place. So, the reality of it is that I think it's kind of a pivot where, a lot of companies are hiring internally, and I think they should for a lot of things, where I think that you have an industry where a lot of people want to get involved in the ad business. They always want to get involved in the ad business. But this is concerning for somebody coming out of school who wants to be in the ad business, where there's going to be less and less jobs. And I know this sounds like, whoa, this is crazy. But the one takeaway I get from this is that, once again, what you value in this industry is you should be valuing strategy over tasks. This is just another automated tool that's going to put something out there, and they're going to take care of all the tasks, but you still have to have strategy in place.
Jess, what do you think about marketing automation? Before we get on to the email marketing and other marketing automation platforms.
Yeah, I mean, I think you both make some very valid points. I mean, for at least my experience being in that realm and working with Amy and even our marketing manager, Jim, there's a lot of things that I get tasked to do, which, is important to have, and it's things that we need to do to make sure that things are updated on the website and things are running properly. Obviously, we get things that tell us when there are problems, like automation devices that tell us, but it's always important, like Glenn said, that you have a strategy so someone's always in there doing it rather than just pushing it aside and then every quarter, 6 months you're going back in and saying, oh, is it working and what can I do? So I think it's important, while the automation is really nice to have and it's good to use as a base point, it's still really important to have someone controlling it at all times to sort of make sure it's continuing to go in the right direction. And that's also where it comes into play, where we say that, people that do all SEO, it's not going to work. You need to put all of, a hard percentage of your time in on the paid stuff. Now, the automation will help, but everything else that we do or an agency does, or things that go along the buyer's journey, when it seems right, you use the SEO strategy. When it's not, you add all the other platforms and all the other strategies we use. So I don't know, I think BrightEdge, it's cool, it's awesome. It's something that, everyone should at least look into. But again, you also have to remember that, you need someone like us or an agency like us to go in and really make it happen and fix all of the problems that happen every day.
You need a guiding hand for the software and also somebody to monitor everything.
You need the teacher.
Yes.
You have to have somebody to be able to interpret the data.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same thing where, you have out there, and you can go to Wix and you can go to anywhere and make a website. I mean, it's all where we're eventually going. It's the same thing for years when you were, years ago in the Industrial Revolution, when you had to physically make things and fabricate certain things, and now there's actual machines that fabricate parts for you that you can slap on a car. I'm really, really stretching here because, let's call it the way it is, those men and women were working their ass off at the turn of the century, and I don't want to compare us to what we were doing, but this is just the growth of an industry. This will continue. Finding a platform that you're going to be able to put your website on, and it's going to literally, if you have video and images on your website, and it's going to spit out a complete campaign for you, is coming. A complete Facebook campaign where you're just going to extract all that data, and it's coming.
And while it's nice, who says it's going to be effective? Because there's no one actually looking into that strategy behind it. They're just letting automation take care of it. And then if you think about it, if automation's taking care of everything, it's all going to be fairly similar. There's going to be nothing that makes you stand out.
No, and I think that begs the conversation for a much larger thing, which is, where does AI fit in all this? So as AI is growing within the digital world, the concerning part about that is that, Elon Musk made a great comment. I said this to somebody and they thought I was nuts. Did you hear what Elon Musk said about 2 months ago? Did I say this to you guys before?
I don't know.
There'll be no jobs. He said in the future, there'll be no jobs. He goes, you have to understand. He goes, the only job's going to be writing AI code. I was like, what? But he made a really good point. He goes, if AI is going where we think it's going to go, which is going to completely revolutionize everything we do, where everything is automated and the only people really doing anything is writing the code. Think about that. If AI has figured out a way to kind of do everything, he's like, and I think what he meant is that there won't be any jobs in the marketplace, but we're going to be very different as a human race in the next, say, 50 years than what we're doing now. What you do work-wise, showing up every day, 5 days a week, 40 to 60 hours, it's not going to look like that anymore. It's going to be a very, very different world. How we profit off that world is going to be unique and different. We're all going to find out. But But I think to kind of tie all this up on what you're seeing, I think this is coming down to, again, this is we're in an automation world. And again, I think there's a part of me that's happy that this has arrived because clients really belittle the tasks we do. We know that. And I don't mean to knock any clients for that, but I don't think that they think we're working. They don't realize the amount of effort that someone like Amy goes into to do constant recoding of things.
I mean, yeah, I think one of the best features of this is, identifying and fixing. They mentioned duplicate content issues, broken links, mobile issues, page performance, infrastructure issues. Something like broken links, you might want a human guiding hand. But duplicate content issues, that could be a matter of just getting rid of that page or flagging it and having to rewrite that code, that content. And that is something that could take Amy a really long time because you have to run it through some program. Then you have to go, oh, okay, I've got to mark all these, got to find out, okay, well, if it's duplicate content, which pages are duplicate, something like that. Things that could take Amy a really long time that could theoretically be fixed very quickly, or at least somewhat more efficiently, which then makes Amy's life easier, but also makes the clients hopefully a little happier because they're seeing things get done a little bit faster, right?
Yeah, I think we'll be able to make better decisions. I think if there's platforms out there where we don't have to manually upload all the pay-per-click stuff, manually do all the SEO, and we can basically harvest the data, step back and make decisions on that data, like Jim can make decisions on everything he's looking at, decisions you make on pay-per-click. Josh, I think that would make your jobs better because I value the investment in team members, in the strategy they bring to the table, and not necessarily the tasks that they're clicking and clacking away at, that kind of stuff. Although, again, there's a lot to be said for that as well. But I think that it shows the strategy. So I know we kind of veered off on this, but when I read that, when I sent this over, I was like, okay, now I've seen this kind of thing before. This is not like brand new. There was companies out there that tried this 10 years ago, but they made you go in and do it. They just identified it, you went in and fixed it, and then it was kind of like a very early form of Yoast where you'll rank if you get all this done. And man, I can't think of what that program was. And every old school SEO person knows what it is.
Do we use it right now?
No, you couldn't even. I don't even think they make it anymore.
Oh, okay.
It was a license you purchased for like $600, and you put it on your desktop, and it was a software, and you ran through everything on your website, and it would tell you where broken links were. It would tell you if your metadata was too long. It would tell you, okay, maybe why don't you try to interlink this page?
So is it like Streaming Frog?
No, way different.
Oh, it's different.
It would actually give you a whole report. And the problem is, I think if you did every single thing it told you to do, you realize you're exactly in the starting spot that you started with because it just brings you in a big circle where you're like, Jesus, that just did a bunch of busy. Like I always looked at it where when I did SEO, I ran it on I tested it for 5 different clients and I was like, yeah. I realized at the end of the day, if I get a couple backlinks and I write the right metadata, I'm going to outrank anybody anyway. And if I hosted on a server that was closest to where the business was, that let's call it the way it was. SEO wasn't really overly that difficult 10 years ago. It's just you just need to know the tricks of the trade without spamming. But anyway, we're off topic on this. I know we're kind of going down a road, but I think that you're going to start seeing a lot of companies bring this out, and I would not be surprised if ultimately Facebook and Google have much easier interfacing platforms for advertising, because you think about that. If it becomes really easy to advertise on Facebook and Google with the real good data they're giving you, that's going to get more people in the marketplace. So I think this is just the first of many things that are coming.
All right. Well, we're going to shift a little bit from this form of marketing automation in terms of SEO to more of the traditional marketing automation software that a lot of B2B businesses use, and I mean B2C as well. When you think of marketing automation software, which is emails and CRMs and things like that. So Len, could you just talk briefly about your experience with different marketing automation softwares? Because I know we've used a couple here before.
Yeah, I mean, we've used stuff. I mean, we've had HubSpot before. I mean, you could also email automation. We've done Zoho, where we've built out email automation campaigns on various different platforms, from Constant Contact to, again, Zoho, Salesforce, and you build out an entire, thread of it where if Josh is looking at a pair of, Jordans, we'll send him an email if we have his email. If Josh doesn't open up that email, we'll send this email. If he did open up that email, we'll send this email, and you can walk all the way down. There's automations on things like HubSpot where you can load up all of your content and it'll post everything on your blog, which will then be distributed out to various different platforms. So there is so many automation platforms. I've reached a point where I don't even know what's going on out there. But there is an enormous amount, and it's its own industry, it's its own business. And to show you how big automation is, HubSpot is a publicly traded company that does fairly well. So that's just to kind of show you like exactly how large this industry is. But there's a big pushback right now in automation with people. People are beginning not to like it anymore, meaning customers and clients know that it's automated and it kind of gets annoying to them.
Can you want to talk a little bit about that then before I jump into
so
some
I've been
stats?
reading quite a bit of stuff, and it's funny where you're even hearing where people are beginning to get more success when they're actually just turning around and emailing individuals personally. So I think if you're a B2C company and if you're selling sneakers or if you're selling sunglasses or you're Warby Parker or something like that, absolutely automation email works well. I think if you are selling a service-based business where if you're an attorney, and we've mentioned this in other podcasts, and somebody submits a form through and it's for divorce, I don't think it's in your best interest to throw them in a marketing automation platform to let them know why they should file a divorce or why they shouldn't file a divorce. So I think if you're kind of an attorney and you do sell that service-based business and it's not like a mass scale type business, I think that you should really reconsider doing market automation. Take the 10 minutes a day or hire a salesperson internally to actually go through the emails and respond to these people, piece by piece. And hey, if it gets larger and larger and larger, then sure, you can work in some automation as a follow-up. But that's kind of where I'm at with automation.
Okay, so the reason I brought this up is London Research did some really interesting, did a really interesting study, and I've got some stats I just want to talk about in regards to marketing automation. You can find this, again, linked in the blog description. So the big stat was that 55% of companies are using marketing automation software either exclusively, that was 21%, or in addition to an email platform, which was 34%. And in the UK and US, there's a lot of automation platforms being used for email sending. So as Len mentioned, if you fill out a contact form, you get an auto reply saying thank you. Maybe you get an email a week later saying as a follow-up of some kind, right? You have audience segmentation, dynamic landing pages. I've seen a lot of automation softwares that mix with the email automatic sending, but also they will help you generate typically a templated landing page, so you have them going somewhere, et cetera, et cetera. And then some different things like behavioral and profile-based lead scoring, complex lead nurturing, predictive personalization on an individual level, et cetera, et cetera. And a lot of this survey, something that I thought was really interesting in particular was, while you had 55% of these companies surveyed, a lot of them were talking about that they felt the need to improve in certain key areas such as analytics, campaign optimization, strategy, systems integration, and execution. And of these areas, analytics was the most developed, with 47% of respondents rating their aptitude as outstanding or satisfactory. However, systems integration is where most companies needed to improve, with only 40% rating their capabilities in this area as outstanding or satisfactory. So basically, they knew a lot of the data that they were getting and they found it very useful, but actually implementing and integrating a lot of their systems took, I guess, a while or was very complicated.
So I think the thing with automation is there's a lot going on. I mean, I didn't even touch on the other stuff in automation where there's programs where if you land on a page, you've been to the site, they've lead scored you, you go back and land on the page, you get an email about another piece of content that may be relevant to that. That's been going on that's probably been a decade. That stuff's been happening. Automation also happens at a point you don't realize where one of the programs, and I know Target is starting to do this now. So if you walk through Target and they're GPSing you and you may look at your phone, you find it really ironic that Target has now just sent you an email. Not a text unless you opt in. I don't know if they have a text program, but that's automation as well. So if you find yourself going to a car dealership, you may also be starting to get geofence, which is like automation. Go, what were you saying?
So I forget, oh my God, I forget which book, but I had to read it when I was in college. There was a book, and basically there's one excerpt where they talked about another form of automation, specifically with Target, where it's basically customer profiling, right? So they would look at what you were buying in store, and maybe also what you were looking for online. I'm not sure about that part, but they definitely were looking at what you were using in store. And every Target catalog you've ever received in the mail, or any mail at all, and emails in this case as well that you've gotten from them, it comes from obviously wherever they place you in the audience segment, right? And basically the story was somebody who didn't know they were pregnant was going through Target, buying these different things, or maybe they were just pregnant but they hadn't told anybody. Well, they get a piece of mail from Target advertising their baby registry and strollers and different things for babies, and that's how their significant other or their parents or something found out, was through Target sending them the thing based on whatever audience segmentation they got put in for buying like baby oil
I've
and
heard
stuff
about
like that.
this before.
I mean, I don't know how much of a tall tale it is, but I remember reading it and thinking it was really interesting. I'll have to bring the book in and find out what that was. If I remember, I will mention in the blog description, but it was really fascinating. And that's just, long story short, that is another form of audience automation segmentation that is more back-end and less digital marketing focused, but keep in mind that if you are shopping on these sites and you're buying things and you have a login, they are audience segmenting you based on what you're buying online or in store.
You have to remember where automation is from, and a lot of people think automation, I don't think they understand why automation is really happening right now or why it's so big. It comes down to the whole 3,500 ads a day, 10 touches a day that we say before, and those numbers are going to be completely wrong by next year, before they do anything at all with your brand. So you can't honestly think that someone like Target does not have a complete customer profile of you, and that what you're buying in the store, how many times you've gone to the store, the products you're purchasing, what they're doing for you, and they realize, all right, well, if I hit Len Ward 15 times, on this one thing, I got a feeling that he's going to go to Target and he may come in and look at the new iPhone, whatever it may be. And so automation, literally, it just comes down to power of numbers. How many times can we touch our potential client with relevant content to actually move them through the buyer's journey? The other thing you said about, clients, and they got all this data and it took a long time to implement, and now the companies are like, oh, what do we do with the data? Well, that comes back to 99% of people don't do anything on your website. And it's amazing that if you just start with those two fundamental building blocks of advertising, at that point you start making more intelligent decisions. And it doesn't, is it power in numbers? Yeah, if you send double the amount of people, is that more than 100 people, or than whatever the amount of original bucket people that you go with, and only 99% of people won't do anything. You might have to edit all that what I said. I'm kind of hemming and hawing. But I think the whole automation thing, I think the biggest confusion that sits in automation right now is that generally companies who implement automation type programs and software across advertising platforms refuse to buy in that 99.9% of people won't do anything on their site. They refuse to buy into it. They have not acknowledged that the average individual sees 3,500 ads a day, and you being 3,501 is the last goddamn thing they feel like looking at that day. And that, it may take upwards of 10 touches, and they may say, well, we've done it 5 times, we're not getting anything. So I think it's everything we've talked about here at Comexis, like those fundamental building blocks, and I just think too many clients, they don't embrace, or companies, they just don't embrace it.
Yeah, and I can also pretty confidently say that when I think of who is using marketing automation the best, it is the huge companies like Target, like Amazon, etc., who their marketing automation is at every fundamental level. If you're, a B2C or a B2B and you're a smaller business, it might not make sense for you to have in a huge mapped out marketing automation platform or service or whatever, because it really does matter for you to give that personal touch that you mentioned for, divorce lawyers or bankruptcy lawyers, where we're talking about very sensitive topics that the human touch is way better at handling than just whatever the robot automation tool decided to spit out to me. That's obviously oversimplifying because a lot of those things are handcrafted and hand-tooled, but you get my point.
No, there is absolutely a place for automation in the marketplace. No question. There's absolutely B2C companies absolutely need it. Even there's quite a few B2B companies that need it. I think like in a retention stage it works really, really well. But yeah, I think we reached a point, and I heard a great podcast the other day, and they were talking. There's a guy who, I won't kind of get into it and start mentioning names, but basically the guy came in and he's run his entire business on automation, has kicked ass on automation, but he basically come out and was basically saying along the lines of, there's a pushback now. There's just a pushback. I'm not getting as much as I wanted to. It's now individuals have become so desensitized that the automation, because years ago you would think, oh my God, they just addressed Josh in an email. They knew who I am. They really want to talk to me. No, automation's been going on for the better part of 10 years now. So this podcast is really choppy. I don't know if we'll be able to, you'll just take a look and see what you have to edit. Yeah.
So the last thing I wanted to mention was that this London research piece had some barriers faced by companies seeking to improve their digital marketing efforts. In particular, they said that a lot of the difficulty was regard to measuring ROI. So 49% of companies surveyed cited this as a problem, with smaller companies more likely to wrestle with determining ROI, with 53% versus 41% of larger companies. So soft plug, Len, the lifetime value ratio, how can that help measure ROI, and why is that? Why do we, when we're talking with clients, mention that the lifetime value ratio is so important for determining things like that and measuring things appropriately in campaign goals and stuff like that?
Well, the lifetime value ratio is going to tell them exactly what they have to invest in digital marketing, and where you are, where you're going to allocate those ad dollars is literally predicated along the buyer's journey. So when you ask the question about, let's just say, if they say, well, we don't know if we're getting an ROI on the current automation platform that we're running. So you have to ask yourself a question. All right, so what's your benchmark and baseline numbers that your automation is supposed to do? Like, to take out awareness, because that has nothing to do with it. Once they're in an automation system, they're in the consideration and purchase phase. So of the campaigns you're running, of the content you're running, of the lead scoring that it's going on, and the content that's being sent back out to the client, are you getting more impressions? Are you getting more open rates? Are you realizing that the funnel of the consideration phase is now slowly rising up and getting higher and more robust because you have a really good, marketing automation there? So if that's kind of eventually spilling into the purchase phase, and you're realizing that, you're generating more sales because of the marketing automation you're doing, well, at that point, you want to look at the overall picture and say, okay, well, marketing automation cost me XYZ here. It cost XYZ to have employees run those things. By the way, I ran these ads on Facebook to try to get them in the marketing automation. So when you ball that all up together, for every dollar you invested in the marketing automation and in your overall ad campaign, did it generate you $3 back? Did it generate you $1 back? Did it generate you $20 back? The closer you are to 3 to 1, when you put all that together, the more you realize that you have developed a return on investment. I hope that answers that question.
No, I think that answers the question perfectly, and I think that discussion right there perfectly encapsulates what I was trying to get from this, which was measuring ROI. If you know your customer acquisition costs and you figure all that out, which includes marketing automation, and then you know your lifetime value, you should get your lifetime value ratio. And if that will help you determine what your actual return on investment is, whether or not you're actually getting one.
It's true. It's looking at the entire customer acquisition cost, and are you hitting a 3 to 1 lifetime value ratio, and are you properly weighted in there? So is it working or not? If this entire platform, let's just say you're running HubSpot and you have 2 individuals running it, and your and it's gobbling up 75% of your customer acquisition cost, and you're not really generating any money, well, then you're completely out of whack. Because if we all agree that from a digital standpoint, from where we are right now, predicated on Google's current earning numbers and Facebook's current earning numbers, you should be at least 50% digital ad spend. That doesn't mean spend on individuals. I'm talking digital ads you have to put money on. And if your software program is gobbling up 70% and you guys are hell-bent on it, well, then it's out of whack. You need to kind of wheel that back a little bit and say, I have to start here at 50%, and here's what I have left over on allocation. With all that being said, you may have a company like a direct-to-consumer company who maybe they generated hundreds of thousands of emails and profiles on Facebook or Instagram. Maybe, to be honest with you, they probably should be 70% on an automation platform because they have their audience, and invest a little bit in the awareness phase because that's how they're generating their business. So I think the answer to that really is predicated on what type of business it is. But that's a really good question, because as much as we do all this and we kind of factor all of it in, I think that marketing automation, when you're looking at it, is something that has to be really factored into this entire equation.
So we've talked a lot about marketing automation in different forms. We talked about the SEO. We just talked about mostly email marketing, well, not email marketing, marketing automation platforms, CRMs, stuff like that. So when would we recommend automation to one of our clients?
Well, when I recommend automation to the clients, definitely in the advocacy stage is where you want to try to harvest reviews and things like that. You can literally automate that. There's a company called BirdEye. You can do that right there. I think in the retention phase, I think it'd be really good. I think building up a profile for a customer who is, maybe you're trying to get them to re-up with your law firm or re-up with the service you provide because maybe a contract's coming up. So I think that phase would be really good. And I do think that automation would work well for somebody maybe who's in the consideration phase. And let's just say the service that you're providing, maybe it's a very complex litigation service you're offering a company. And they really have to do their due diligence and their research before they elect to go with a law firm to help them on this certain situation. I think then it would work well. I don't think the minute you meet a customer or the minute a customer's lead comes through the front door, if you're a law firm, I don't think you should immediately throw them into an automation. I think it's wrong. I think that you should warrant a phone call, listen to the phone call, or have one of your people listen to them, figure out what it is that they're looking for, and then decide at that point, do we put them into something like this? So, but I'm not a big believer, and I'm going to go completely against the grain because I sound really old world in this. I'm not a big believer of the minute somebody sends an email, then we automatically have to drop them into an email marketing automation. I just don't think people like it right now. So hopefully that makes sense.
No, I think that makes complete sense. For something like BrightEdge for agencies, do you think that's a platform we might want to look into in the future?
So you want to look, okay, so now we're talking automation for actual marketing opposed to contact.
Yeah.
Okay, so then that's a different answer. Yes. I think this automation is something that as an agency I would probably embrace. So that type of thing.
And when would we not recommend? I mean, to be honest, you kind of answered that from an email marketing perspective, but what I'm thinking is, would we recommend automation for PPC campaigns or Facebook ad campaigns or something like that?
Okay, so your question's different. So now we're talking about automation for platforms for marketing opposed to touching the customers. So, okay, so why don't we ask the question again? Okay, so you had that. Would I recommend automation for pay-per-click? I think you would recommend that if you had an intelligent enough individual to harvest the data that's coming back on pay-per-click and can go in at any time and make those adjustments and changes. There are companies out there like WordStream and so forth that actually can automate all pay-per-click for you. I've heard great things about it. I've heard nightmares about it. So to me, I would say yes, you can automate pay-per-click so long as you had somebody like a Josh or like a Jim going in, reviewing the data and making changes. But I think that they would both love it if they didn't have to go in and automatically review things on a daily basis. If you felt comfortable with a software platform that you knew was going to take care of what you wanted and that you could look at the data and say, hey, let me make decisions from that data.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break. Coming up is a new podcast segment we like to call Ads 101. Hope you guys enjoy it. Josh, I've been making these posts on my company's social media account for the last couple months, and they're only getting like 2 likes each. And they're all from my coworkers. All that effort wasted. Why aren't my customers seeing and interacting with my posts?
Well, Matt, that's because you're posting organically. Did you know only 5% of your audience, on average, are seeing your posts? And there's no guarantee they'll interact. You should try paid social media.
Organic, paid. I'm going to be honest, Josh. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, you're in the right place then. Lovely listener, welcome to Ads 101, a podcast within a podcast that gives explanations of both fundamental and complicated marketing topics.
And fun hypothetical skits aside, there are a lot of business owners who don't know the difference between organic social media and paid social media.
Or that there's a difference at all.
Exactly.
So let's start with organic social media. Simply put, organic social media posts are the posts you normally make when posting to social media.
So if you're showing off a new photo of the office, sharing an article, or ranting on Twitter, that's organic social media posting.
Now, paid social media is different. Paid social media is when you pay for the ads on a social platform or boost social media posts.
So if you're running an ad on Facebook, that's paid social media.
Or if you make an organic post and you pay to boost it to your followers, That's also paid social media.
As you've probably gathered, one big difference between organic and paid social media is whether or not you're paying to help your posts or ads reach a larger audience than just your followers.
Another difference is intent. Organic social posts are normally aimed at an audience you already have.
While a paid social media ad is trying to advertise your product, services, etc., while also increasing your following.
A great social media campaign takes advantage of both forms of social posting.
Organic helps retain, inform, and entertain your current following.
And paid social media ads and boosted posts help people outside your audience see your content.
Earlier, Josh said that only 5% of your audience is likely to see your posts, and that's true.
News feeds are cluttered these days.
In fact, some platforms like Facebook have significantly reduced the reach of organic posting in recent years.
Which means organic social media, unfortunately, is slowly fading in importance.
Because of this, paid social media can also make sure the other 95% of your audience is seeing your post too.
That's all for this week's Ads 101.
See you next time. Welcome back, everybody. So now we're going to be doing a new little segment. This week's all full of new segments as we kind of shift the format to be a little longer form. And this is more of a news roundup segment. I don't have a nice title for it yet, so we're just going to call it the Buyer's Journey News Roundup for now. Basically, we're going to cover a couple of the trending or top stories that we thought were really interesting that you guys should know about, and then we're going to give some very quick takes on them. The first being Twitch's new redesign. So one thing we do here at Chemexis is we look at a lot of different platforms, and we obviously have the main ones: Facebook, Instagram, Google, and all Google's properties like YouTube. And those are the big boys that you should be spending a lot of your marketing dollars in. But there's that other 20%. If we say Facebook and Google's 80, there's the other 20%. And that's where we kind of like to look at other platforms, see what's happening, and kind of decide from there what client is right for these platforms. And Twitch is something that we've looked at for a lot of different clients in the past. We're keeping our eye on it to see if it is effective and helpful for clients in the future. And Twitch has just recently come out with a new redesign of both their website and of their logo. And I like Twitch a lot. I think it's really interesting. But here's a little excerpt from a piece by The Verge. Again, all of these links will be in the blog description. So here's the quote. The nuts and bolts: there's a new purple. There's a new font called Rubert, which is based on the Moog synthesizer typeface. Basically, it's just a text edit. There's around 20 new colors, and there's a new glitch, which is their little logo. The net effect is that Twitch's logo looks sleeker and more modern. It's less blocky and way less 2011 than its predecessor, and the new font is also accessible, says Trisha Choi, Director of Design Systems. And there are plans to implement a high contrast feature, and to that end, the company's hiring a program manager for accessibility and inclusive design, which points to its ambitions in the arenas. The change also comes with a new slogan, quote, "You're already one of us," which is meant to both welcome new creators to the platform who aren't necessarily the company's core audience of gamers, and to showcase the variety of content that is already on the platform. If you would like to see what these look like, please check out the blog description. Obviously, this is an audio podcast. I can't show you what this new logo looks like, but personally, I think it's really nice. That's all I got on that. I mean, I think it looks nice.
I think it looks awesome. I'm on here now taking a look at it. I mean, this is so... Twitch is, I've said it a million times, this is absolutely going to overtake every single thing you do, everything. You're the 55-year-old dude laughing right now in your car if you're listening to this, which maybe we have one listener listening to it. I guarantee within 18 months to 24 months, this is how you're digesting your content. It is amazing when I go in here and look at this. Every time I go to Twitch, I'm floored each and every single time I go in there because I'm looking at it, I'm like, this is the future of how we digest content. And it's, what did they just sell for?
I don't know.
Something crazy. Somebody owns them right now.
Amazon owns them.
Yeah, and they sold it for some astronomical number.
Yeah.
We have said this before. I absolutely see a future in advertising in this. For attorneys, not yet, maybe not yet. It's coming.
What's interesting, I think, about Twitch, and to your point, I think they're expanding, is you have news stations and news organizations like the Washington Post, I believe, has a Twitch channel that they cover different things on. A lot of it recently has been election things, but then you also have like Bernie Sanders' campaign has a Twitch channel. AOC has a Twitch channel. So you're seeing people slowly begin pushing into these avenues because they know live streaming is really popular, and let's be honest, while Facebook pushes live streaming a lot, it's not nearly as conducive to live streaming as Twitch is because Twitch was built.
It doesn't have this foundation.
No, it doesn't. Len, for those listening, was showing off the new app, which also got a new redesign. Again, I think the new redesign, I think it looks great. I like the way they condense everything. I think the logo looks fantastic.
I like the little animation too is cool.
Yeah, they added some new stretching. I think their campaign's really interesting. So I'm wishing them well. Josh, you give your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I've always loved Twitch. I haven't used it as much as I did when I was a little bit younger, because I used it a lot for gaming and stuff. And that's mostly what people think of when they hear Twitch as gaming. But now you're seeing, like you said, that news stations and political figures and even like sports media is using Twitch as another avenue of giving their own live opinions on things going on, like everyday things. So while it's perfect for the gamers and it's important for like the news people, you'll start seeing businesses find unique, crazy ways to advertise their business on a live platform that gets so much credibility that Twitch does. So it's cool. It's awesome that they did the new redesign. I'm a big dark mode guy, so love the dark mode, way better than the light mode. But it looks really cool, and it's awesome.
They redesigned their desktop platform and they default it to light mode. They had a dark mode on the previous one, but they defaulted to light mode when you open up the app again for the first time. And I don't like light mode on anything, so I had to immediately switch it. But I think it looks nice. I'm happy about it. On to the next one. So YouTube is going to be adding a new feature to video reach campaigns. Basically, you're going to be able to upload 3 different asset types. Again, all of this is from Search Engine Land. I will have a link in the blog description. So 6-second bumper ads, skippable in-stream ads, and non-skippable in-stream ads in a single campaign. And then Google is going to use machine learning to determine the most efficient combination of those ads to maximize audience reach. And then here's a quote from Vishal Sharma, the VP of Product Management at YouTube on the Google's ad blog. Quote, "This will allow for optimized, more effective campaigns and free up your time to focus on more strategic priorities that can differentiate your business."
It's just another Google product. I don't really, I get it. It's good. It's cool that they're doing it. It's, they're definitely trying to deliver ads in a more efficient manner, making sure that the user experience is good. So it's just another Google product that, I'm not overly impressed.
Okay.
So,
I mean, I like it because I think it makes it more efficient, so you don't have to run 3 separate types of campaigns.
Right.
You can now just run one campaign with 3 pieces of collateral that
and it'll tell you which one
are
works
machine
the
learned.
best.
That said, it's not that impressive. It's cool. It's nice, but I get what you're saying. Josh, any thoughts before we move on?
Not really. I mean, it's a cool concept. I guess for the consumer, it's nice that because when you go on YouTube, there are different ad types, and some of them I prefer better than others. So using the machine learning, they might figure out which one I like the best and only show me that that type of ad. So
and then you're gonna buy the Air Jordans, Josh.
I guess so.
Remember though, they're harvesting all this data. So the thing you have to remember on everything they're doing, this is why they're brilliant. That's why the Alphabet Group is brilliant. They're harvesting all this data. They're trying to figure out, is it 6, 15, 30? Is that what they're looking for?
They just say 6 bumper and then skippable ads or non-skippable in-stream. So that would be ads that play while you're watching the video,
Right.
and then the only difference is that there's also a 6-second bumper in the beginning potentially. So it's basically 6-second, skippable, non-skippable.
So they're just harvesting data to try to figure out how to price this stuff eventually. That's exactly what they're doing. They're trying to figure out, it's just harvesting a bunch of data and just saying to themselves, all right, these are the decisions we're going to make on how we're going to go ahead and charge for whatever we're going to charge going forward. I know we're making much more out of this than we have to, but it's just another Google product to harvest more data, and good for them. That's what they're supposed to do.
There you go. Speaking of more Google products, the next piece is, again, from Search Engine Land. It's about Google snippet metadata. So Google uses content previews, including text snippets and other media, to help people decide whether a result is relevant to their query. So when you do a Google search, what you see is metadata from that website that Google has pulled to hopefully help you determine what it is that you're searching for and find what you're looking for, right? So the type of preview shown depends on a lot of factors, including the type of content a person is looking for and the kind of device they're viewing it on. Quote, previously it was only possible to allow a textual snippet or to not allow one. Now we're introducing a set of methods that allow a more fine-grained configuration of the preview content shown for your pages. This is done through two types of new settings, a set of robot meta tags and an HTML attribute. So basically, this will allow you to better control how your search listing is being displayed.
That's good for optimizing for the no-click conversion. So if you're right now, I think the biggest thing that we've talked about shaking people up is 50% of traffic that Google produces on the search engine. They don't click anything. So now that you have access to this, and now this is from the SEO mind speaking for me now. All right, how do we optimize that? What types of calls to action can I put in there that I can potentially relay back to a client and say, hey, I think we can do this to maybe drive some more people to you. So that's interesting that Google's doing that. I like that. That's a cool new product.
I just think it also shows why you want to make your metadata be in the form of a question.
Yeah.
It's something we've talked about plenty of times on the podcast. It's just more transformation within that.
Yeah, so
Your metadata, question and answer. So you almost want to ask the question in the title, put the answer in the metadata. It's one of the testing ways to find out now if from a voice search perspective from Google Home or Alexa, Alexa pulls from Bing, Google Home pulls from Google, seeing what type of responses are coming back from it.
I agree with everything you guys have said. The one thing that I'm interested in is whether or not this will help by using this metadata and different things like that, if that will help you get a featured snippet. I have no idea, they didn't say that. But if you're able to determine what is being shown in your snippet preview, if you're able to really maximize that, I don't see why not, in terms of like Google going, oh, well, you've already answered this question perfectly and pushing it up. That's speculation on my part, but I think it's very interesting that they're opening it up at all to let you determine that instead of just having whatever it is that your metadata currently says be your listing, basically. So
A long line of the journey that started of devaluing your actual website. And in another, I don't know how many years, companies, you're going to have a website, but as your traffic reduces, it's not even about that. More people are going to be going to your Twitch page, going to your Facebook page. So it's funny, we all focus on websites right now, but the reality of the situation is that the website has seen its heyday, and it is beginning to pull back a little because it's now your brand and where your brand's displayed across platforms that are really taking priority over your actual website traffic.
speaking of platforms taking priority over traffic, Instagram in-stream video ads are driving more purchases than story ads, reports Marketing Land. So here's a quote. Of the 73% of respondents who said they were Instagram users, 31% said they had purchased a product directly after watching a video on their platform. When digging into the types of video ads that resulted in a purchase, 27% of respondents reported that they bought something directly after watching an in-feed video ad, while only 12% they had done the same after watching a video ad within an Instagram story. The survey includes a fairly small pool of Instagram users. For reference, less than 1,000 spread across 3 countries, but the fact that twice as many of the survey respondents made a purchase after watching in-feed video ads versus story ad is notable. And then there's another quote. Of the 73% of survey respondents that said they use Instagram, 69% said they spend most of their time on the platform watching videos, and the biggest majority of the Instagram users, 33%, watch the most video between 8 p.m. and 10:59 p.m. So in other words, brands seeking more organic engagement on Instagram should be investing in more video content and sharing later in the evening when users are more likely to be scrolling through their feed.
And purchasing products. When you're at home, you're going to purchase product. You're not going to purchase when you're sitting at work.
Exactly. It's 8 to 11. Maybe the kids are asleep. Maybe the millennials and the Zoomers are hanging out doing nothing, just hanging. Well,
is that what they're called now?
That's like one of the slang names
for
the
Gen Z.
Gen Z, they call themselves
Gen Z, they're called Zoomers.
Well, I don't think they call themselves Zoomers.
But
I
that's
think
what people are.
call them Zoomers.
Zoomers, okay. Jesus.
I don't know how ironic that term
That's
is.
actually so funny.
It's so good. It's amazing. Anyway,
A Gen Z boomer.
what I think is really interesting about this is there was a huge push. I mean, we saw it on Facebook, we see it in Instagram about how important Instagram stories are and how important Instagram story advertising was going to be. We're seeing Facebook pushing, or we're seeing Facebook, the company, push Facebook stories into trying to get advertisers to actually buy things. And then we're seeing on Instagram, it's the actual in-feed videos doing more. obviously Facebook and Instagram, as they're owned by the same company, but the platforms are different in the way people use them. But I did think that was really interesting that just an Instagram video or an ad in platform is more likely to sell a product than it is in a story ad.
We haven't even touched or scratched the surface as to the amount of ad dollars that's going to pour into Facebook and Instagram on this. You immediately think, well, I'm going to get everything I want to put everything on Amazon. True, but you're also assuming if somebody's searching for your type of product, and that's fine if they're searching for your type of product. But I mean, if you have a product that's different, if you have a product that's unique and kind of cool, and you're trying to get it in front of people, I mean, and it's D2C, direct to consumer, I mean, absolutely, you got to be on Instagram right now. Invest the money. That's just, I look at that stock price, I think it's 177. It's getting the shit kicked out of it today. But I just look and I'm baffled at the amount of people that don't invest in these media stocks. I'm like, I don't think you have any idea they haven't even begun to hit ad revenue dollars yet. So that's a cool story. Yeah.
I mean, to me, when I'm looking at like a story, whether it's Snapchat or I guess in this case Instagram, they're 24-hour quick hit. This is what's going on in my life, or this is what's going on with the brand. You're scrolling through that thing so quick you could care less about what the ad is. But when you're scrolling on the Instagram feed, you're going at a little bit smaller of a pace. Things are coming from that day, maybe a day or two ago, depending on the algorithm. You have more time to digest the ad, gives you a better chance to buy it. That's my take.
It's a great perspective.
Not to mention, for a lot of things on Instagram, obviously not all of them are actually doing this, but you can buy them right there in the platform sometimes.
Exactly.
So,
yeah, and just to kind of touch on this is one of the things that Jim and Rebecca were mentioning. This is where we're seeing, like, for attorneys, while you should be on Instagram, that's kind of cool. We have a bankruptcy attorney that actually does okay on it, but it's not a great platform for attorneys. It just really isn't. So it's kind of, it's one of those things where we look at it and it's like we just do it because we almost have to do it. We don't allocate a lot of funds to it. But yeah, so it's really it's a D2C play. It really is direct to consumer, B2C, business to consumer. I think B2B on Instagram, not so much.
Yeah. So our final story for today, Snapchat is extending their ads to 3 minutes. So Snapchat, this is from Marketing Land, Snapchat has announced a number of updates for video advertisers, including an increase to the duration of all Snap ads, more interactive features for its 6-second non-skip commercials, and goal-based bidding. So Snap reports that commercials sold via its ad auction platform are seeing $10 to $12 CPMs and an average cost per completed view, CPCV, of 1 cent. Specifically, Snap ads can now run 3 minutes long. Previously, the max duration for a Snap ad was 10 seconds. Snap has significantly increased the maximum duration of all of its ads to 180 seconds, and the company said that the user experience will not change, so users will be able to skip through ads as they always have, but now advertisers can run longer ads on the platform. What do we think about that?
Well, they're doing the 3 minutes because you're starting to see some of these ads, and I can't remember the guy. There's a product for a guy. It might be soap. Organic type soap, and there's this guy with blonde hair and a beard, and it's a whole 3 minute kind of show that he's putting on. Actually, on the last 10 seconds of the show, they show the behind the scenes and all that. You're beginning to, and I don't know what it's called in advertising, I probably should know, but you're beginning to see the beginning of these story type ads. 2 minutes, 3 minutes long, and it's really feeding into that. This is kind of really feeding into the audience that's on Snapchat, the kind of the way they like to digest it. You would think it's immediately quick hit, and it is quick hit, but the reality of it is that if you have a pretty funny story to tell, that's kind of the way that advertising really works on Snapchat. And we may have attorneys listen to podcasts saying, why do I care about Snapchat? Well, if you're a DUI attorney, you best be looking at Snapchat in the next year or two because them kids are now driving and they're going to need help if it's DUI. We're a little down on DUI because of Uber, but Snapchat is very, very close to moving into the buying sector of individuals who have the money, who would retain attorneys, other types of professional services. So while we don't currently market at Snapchat, I don't think there's any question by 2021 we are absolutely allocating the bottom 20%, some of it into Snapchat.
When you think about it this way, the Discover section within Snapchat, to me at least, feels like it's a bunch of ads. And those could be 5 to 10 minute video production made by businesses and influencers and whatever it is. But in reality, to me, it's just an ad. It's just them doing their own video series on whatever's next.
But you watch it.
So you watch it.
Yeah.
So that's part of why I think they're willing to extend it to 3 minutes. Also, like you said Len, you said in terms of the story, it's like when Old Spice did those commercials with the half man, the shirtless half man, like that when that was on TV, people actually sat and watched and enjoyed it compared to other regular traditional ads that or traditional commercials you would see online. It's that weird story off-put, like it's just different.
It's got a big hook.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So while you know you're going to see 3 to 6 to 10-second ads on other platforms, you just know that it's an ad. Sometimes on Snapchat, you scroll through it and they're starting to do this whole story thing and they're talking to you and you kind of forget that it's an ad and it's more of just them speaking to you just about their brand, and that's what hooks you, and you might watch anywhere from 10 seconds to 3 minutes.
Yeah,
So-
it's definitely a new way to advertise where it's cool, and I'm beginning to see a lot more. And again, I keep going back to direct to consumer, but that's the one who I'm really seeing being effective with it right now. You're seeing it quite a bit. I've now come across 2 to 3 ads. One I saw on Snapchat. One was it Instagram? It wasn't Instagram. Maybe it was Snapchat. It might have been Snapchat. One might have been YouTube, believe it or not, which was like, wow, that's interesting. They made it was like a 2-minute commercial. Is that even possible on YouTube? I don't even know if that's
Yeah.
possible.
People have run. So this is going way off topic, but there was a, what movie studio was it? I think it was for Lego Movie. They ran the entire Lego Movie as an ad. So you could.
Well, you know that just was a big ad, right?
No.
People don't realize that the Lego Movie was an ad.
Well, yes, but my point is, they ran a feature film length thing as an ad on YouTube to advertise for the obviously to advertise for the Lego Movie too. But your advertisement could, depending, I don't know all of the ad requirements for YouTube. There could be a hard limit for people who aren't, a movie studio. But it seems like you can upload like anything, because there are times where like you'll get 5-minute long ads where they're just hoping you're listening on an autoplay or something, and then they're gonna hit you and catch you in a 5-minute listen or something.
Because you're hooked. I found the one I saw. It's Dr. Squatch, natural soap for men. Don't know why they targeted me, but they targeted me, and I watched the whole. Well, I mean, I'm advertising, so I'm always going to watch every ad that comes through the front door. I watch every billboard I look at, so I'm the worst demographic to be targeting. But that's what it is, and it's a whole guy.
Oh yeah, it's like the going up to people, testing, like.
Yeah, it's like a whole thing, and there's like they have multiple skits on this now. So you know who's trying that too was who's the blades that you would order. You would do the shaving kit on the way home. They would send it from home.
Harry's.
There's another one, the big one.
Dollar Shave Club.
Dollar Shave Club. They were one of the very first to start that way back.
I've also seen they do sunglasses. I don't know what their name is because I don't wear sunglasses, but it's like their frames are made of like aluminum or something. I don't know.
Okay.
Some like good. I thought it was on LinkedIn, but it might have been on YouTube. I remember they had like a 5-minute video that they ran as an ad, which I did actually sit and watch through because I was surprised
interesting.
at how long it was. It was pretty interesting.
You know what I mean? So it's an ad, but if it's telling a story, it's kind of cool. I mean, this was different. This is actually funny. I thought it was really funny. I mean, when I'm going to buy the product, no, I don't really want the product, but I thought it was interesting. But I think that is kind of catering to the Snapchat. And again, from the Twitch world to the Snapchat, there's a really, really difference in way we're digesting content. And your generation, which is, I'm twice your guys' age, what's coming up now, I just find it really, really interesting. And it's amazing how creative is starting to come back, where we've been such logged in the last 5 to 8 years in digital marketing, where it's all heavily task-based and the creative has been gone, where now video and creative, like that stuff is starting to make its emergence. And when it's all said and done and the dust settles and all AI and everybody's got everything there, creative's going to win the day. Creative's going to win the day, and how much money are you investing in your creative to get across platforms? That's what's going to win the day. We're just not at that day yet.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's all for today's episode of The Buyer's Journey. Check us out on Comexis.com, YouTube, it, anywhere you can get your podcasts. And follow us on Twitter at @buyers_journey. Thanks for listening.